Shalom, everybody. This is Olivier with Shalom and Messiah. Friends, I can't keep up. My head is spinning. Seriously, I cannot keep up, and not just with what's happening in America, but the Middle East. So when I can't keep up, when my head is spinning, I just have a few people that I go to, and I'm about to bring in my good friend in a second. Just want to remind you to subscribe. That's always helpful. And also visit shalominmessiah.com, our website where we have a lot of resources there. So that's where you go to find out more about our ministry and connect with us, and you have a chance to support our ministry and we can use it. So thank you for that. Thank you for all our friends, all our team players that help us make a difference for the kingdom of Messiah. Now, I am not going to wait any longer. I want to bring in my good friend, David Tal. David, welcome to the show.
Well, it's nice to be back, and thank you for having me. And yes, like you said, we just can't keep up. Even I can't keep up with what's going on.
Is your head spinning? I mean, it's crazy.
Well, again, ever since the election, there's this feeling that more and more subjects, more and more areas, more and more dynamics are happening where President Trump is just pushing the envelope on everything. And what he's been doing in the Middle East has been no different from what he's been doing in all the different places that he's been touching.
It's just crazy. And, of course, he's made a lot of promises. And so far, I mean, it's been 3 weeks, David, 3 weeks. And a lot has happened. And of course, you and I, we have a connection to Israel. I mean, you lived there for, how many years did you live? How long have you lived?
Well, I'm 62 years old. Take out 4 years, basically, or 5 years. So that's about it.
So the rest of the time you're in Israel.
I'm in Israel. Yeah.
Wow. So yeah, this is your home, definitely. And I know that you're going to be going soon, so I'm excited for you. And I'm going to be going not too far after you to do some ministry there, so we're looking forward to that. But Israel is really it truly is the center of the world, biblically, definitely. In Jerusalem, even more so. But right now, all eyes are on what's happening with the hostages. And David, I've got opinions. Okay. I need to let that one out right away, and then we can talk about the rest. But you know me now. For 25 years, I've been talking about anti-Semitism. I've been helping the church get better educated on the history of anti-Semitism and be able to fight it in a constructive, fruitful way to make a difference and to reach out to the Jewish community with the love of Messiah. But David, for at least, for the whole 25 years, really, that I've been writing articles and doing conferences, I always say that the new anti-Semitism is where they've taken the perpetrators and made them into the victims, and the victims and made them into perpetrators. The roles have switched, which means that now, for at least a few decades, the Israelis, the Jews in Israel, are called the new Nazis of the Middle East, and that's just one of the many names, of course. And the world is buying that lie. The world is agreeing with that statement, and then a few days ago, Hamas releases three Israeli men, hostages, and you look at them, and David, I have studied the Holocaust extensively. I have lost family members in the Holocaust. I look at them and I thought, they look just like they're coming out of Dachau of Auschwitz. They look emaciated. They look malnourished. They were barely able to walk. And I'm thinking, who are the Nazis now? What's your opinion on this?
Well, first of all, as Israelis watching this happen, watching them come out, there was, again, this sense of deja vu. We've been there. We've heard this. We've seen this. This is our families. We've gone through this. The malnourished, barely the skin, the skeletal kind of, but more than anything, was the empty eyes, the sense of the hollow eyes.
Yes.
The sunken eyes like that. That kind of freaked me. All Israel freaked out, and nobody can see that with any kind of historical knowledge and not make a connection to the Holocaust.
Exactly.
But I didn't hear it. Almost no one said anything, which brings us, I think, to the most important thing of what's I think is changed is that there was one person very important that heard it, saw it, and decided to react to it. And I think that is something that we will be talking about a lot.
And what are you talking about?
President Donald J. Trump. He actually said, I saw them. They look like they were in the Holocaust. This has to stop now. And basically that's according to what I understand was the dynamic that actually caused the sequence of events that we're talking about right now is that he saw it and he reacted as opposed to a lot of people who saw it, made the connection but did not react.
Yeah, and for those who did not react, I speak on that topic. I talk about it in my book on the normalization of anti-Semitism that came out about a year ago, a little over a year ago, and where I describe all the different steps that the world has gone through to basically look at anti-Semitism and not even react anymore. And that's where we are. That's where we are. Everything is in place. The anti-Semitism has been normalized. It's just another
Accepted.
thing. And to take it, and then we'll get into what Trump said. But I don't know if I shouldn't be saying this too loud because I live in Texas now, but I don't really care for football. I mean, saying this and living in Texas, I could probably get lynched. But
Yeah, you got to be careful.
but the reason why I'm saying this is there was a commercial. I saw the commercial. I studied it and analyzed it. That was financed by the owner of Kraft. He's a Jewish guy. And he did a commercial against racism last year, which I was a little better, but still. And this year it was Snoop Dogg and I think John Brady talking
Tom
about
Brady. Tom Brady.
Tom Brady. Sorry,
We understand the football part.
yeah, I told you I don't. Here is your proof in the pudding. I don't even know the name of the guy. That's so bad. Tom Brady and Snoop Dogg talking about racism. It was done to fight anti-Semitism, and that commercial did not have the word Israel, Jewish, Jew. Anti-Semitism, anti-Semitic, none of those words. It went as far as talking about being different, being racist, and it was okay if it was supposed to be a broad statement against racism, but it was supposed to fight anti-Semitism. They completely missed the mark. Mind you, on top of that, Snoop Dogg is also a known anti-Semite. I don't know why they would use that guy. But anyway, they missed the mark. So missing the mark, not speaking about the obvious, the elephant in the room, the Holocaust surviving looking hostage being released. This is going along the same topic that I think you and I were discussing it in a previous podcast, where the Jewish community we're used to be the scapegoats of humanity. We're used to be harassed, to be oppressed. But what really is sad and concerning right now is the lack of interest and the lack of reaction of the global community in light of the amount of anti-Semitism that we see now, that it is so much more than it was a few years ago. So this happens, and Trump sees it, and of course Trump doesn't mince his words. He says it like he sees it, and then what does he say after that?
Well, in a nutshell, he says this is unacceptable. The hostages should be released, not 2 by 2 and 3 by 3, all of them. I saw these people. They look like they came out of the Holocaust. We've been there. This is evil. And if by high noon on Saturday, I mean, it sounds like a Western movie, yes, but by high noon on Saturday, all of the hostages, he said all of them are not released, there will be hell to pay.
And Hamas resisted, and then today they said we're back on the table. We'll release 3 more. I think that's the latest I got.
Well, here's the thing. If we go back to the context, we are in the middle of first stage of a longer negotiation where 33 Israeli hostages will be released to 1,500 Palestinian prisoners, most of them convicted murderers. And that would be on I think it was a 6 week process where every week two would be released. And the Hamas saw what happened with the two that were released last weekend and realizes that they were losing support because there were people in the world who didn't like what was going on, including what President Trump said, and they decided that they're not going to release anymore. And they used some kind of an excuse and said, we're going to quit the hostage agreement and we will not release anymore. That was yesterday, the day before yesterday. As a result of what Trump said and the realization that Trump means what he says, the first thing that they've done is they said, okay, we will release the 3 that were going to be released this week and see what is going to happen. The thing is that we have the names of the 33 that should be released. They include the 2 Bebus babies. One of them was taken hostages when he was 8 months old. The other was taken hostages when he was 5 years old. And the fact that they haven't been released until now gives us a feeling, an understanding that probably they are part of the 8 people on the list that Hamas has already said. Out of the whole list, there were 8 people that will not be returned alive. And it looks like that's what's going to happen. And I think they realize that when that happens, when they release the bodies of those children, then everything will be different. At least there would be an outcry in the world. I think they're worried about that.
So how many, as of right now, in Gaza, how many hostages left, dead and alive, that we know? 79? What is it?
76, I think, was the name. But number.
76. So 76 left in Gaza. We don't know how many alive, and the longer they wait and they do 2 or 3 at a time, the more obvious to me it becomes that they have more dead than we think they do. But I mean, don't quote me on it.
Well, I'm not quoting you, but I think what President Trump said is that he has reached the same conclusion as you and all the rest of us have.
And so now, what could happen? What do you think? I mean, we don't know. I mean, we know that Trump doesn't usually say things and not do what he says. But on something like this, now I heard that, I think it was yesterday, that Bibi's cabinet agreed along the same line. They said by noon or else. So I think they lined up with what Trump said. Do I get my information correctly?
You got your information correctly, but the question is, Bibi said it about the 3 hostages that are still part of the agreement. The Hamas is walking a line that we would call, or a policy that we would call brinkmanship. The Arabs are very well known. I mean, going on the edge. Let's say no, but at the last minute we say yes, and let's say 3, and the last minute it's 2. Then we'll say okay, we're okay with 3. They play this game, and they're playing this game right now. So probably on Saturday, they're going to release 3 hostages. The question is, will they look as bad as the ones that were released just now? And how will that be reacted? And what will President Trump do on Saturday at 12:01? By the way, there's a question whether Israel time or American time, but basically,
right,
I'm going to figure it's American time. What will happen if they don't release them, and what are the options, or what are the considerations?
Well, if it's American time, it might make it after Shabbat.
Exactly.
So that might be a little help, a little easier on whatever they decide to do. But I mean, is in your mind, knowing the way the Israel thinks and operates, is there a chance that on Saturday there is a concerted effort saying, okay, we're done, we're leveling the whole place, and if there are left people that are still alive, casualties of war? Is that? I mean, I don't see it happening because Israel doesn't think that way, but I don't know.
Okay, so part of the ceasefire agreement, or the hostage agreement that we've done, is Israel has pulled out from all of the Gaza Strip except for one corridor along the border with Egypt and for
Philadelphia.
the Philadelphia corridor and the how do you say the perimeter. Okay, we've kind of closed off a 500-yard perimeter around the Gaza Strip. So besides that, we pulled out from everywhere. I think that what the options are is basically President Trump saying the ceasefire is done. The ceasefire deal is done. The hostage deal is done. Israel, do what you need to get your hostages back and to finish off Hamas. And Prime Minister Netanyahu has already called up more reserves and has given or issued orders to the military to be ready to go back into Gaza in full-fledged combat mode if this does not happen.
So that's what's going to happen if you think if Hamas does not release all the hostages by noon on Saturday, whatever noon here or Israel, then it's a re-entry of the Israeli troops for to finish the job.
Which brings me to, okay, then what's the difference between that and a month ago, or what's the difference between that and a year ago? Basically, it is President Trump in the White House and a whole new dynamic, a whole new different mindset in the world, basically, that says, yes, the world's going to stand up, and a lot of people, there are going to be demonstrations probably all over, but the United States will have Israel's back in as far as support on this one. And I doubt if the United Nations can, put out more, how do you say, issue more arrests for more Israelis or whatever
Right.
in this environment. And I'm going to go back to what President Trump has said again and again. And something came out in the Israeli news last week that kind of exemplifies this. The 7th of October would not have happened if President Trump had been in office, or if the mindset in the world was the mindset that we see today. It would not have happened.
Right.
It turns out
I agree.
that on December of 23, meaning the attack happened on October, November, December, Israel was not pushing aid, was not allowing aid to go into the Gaza Strip. There was a whole balagan. The whole world was standing on its hind feet. You can't use starvation as a battle tactic, blah, 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 blah. But we know today that in December of 23, Hamas was about to give up, was totally about to give up. They were talking about giving up the hostages, surrendering to Israel, and handing Sinwar over. Sinwar, that was the head of the Hamas at the
Yeah,
time.
Sinwar, yeah.
Yahya Sinwar, handing him over. And all of a sudden, the Biden administration pushed Israel into a corner and made us push the aid back in and save the Hamas, literally save them. So I think that's not going to happen again. And
Right.
one of the things that might happen, again, I'm not sure, is that part of the all hell would break loose was Israel closes off and does not allow aid in, does not allow food in, does not allow food, fuel, anything in. And the Biden administration would not have been able to accept that because it would make them look bad. But I think the Trump administration is willing to accept something like that and put a massive amount of pressure on the Hamas to capitulate and stand down.
So, okay, so if that happens, though, how different is that from, like not allowing any aid, any food, any water in? How's that different from leveling the whole place, except that it's going to take longer for all people to die that are in the Gaza Strip? I don't get it.
I don't think they'll die because leveling the place, basically, again, there are the hostages in there.
Right.
Okay.
And
Second,
I'm not saying we should. Okay, I don't want
I get you.
the people watching saying like, what is Olivier saying? He doesn't care about Israeli lives. That's not what I'm saying.
And I think what needs to happen, and again, a lot of people are starting to see this in all of the Middle East. We're seeing this, and I'm kind of putting dots on this, both in Gaza with Hamas, in Lebanon with Hezbollah, and even in Iran, is that we cannot solve the problem completely. We can fight against, for instance, Hezbollah, but it's got to be the Lebanese people that overthrow the Hezbollah. We can fight against Iran, but the Iranian, the final situation has to be that the Iranian people overthrow that government. We can push Hamas back into the dirt, but the people of Gaza are going to have to overthrow the Hamas government. It's not enough for us to come and overthrow it from outside. And I think that is the main difference.
So that leads me to the next thing I wanted to touch on, and I don't necessarily want to make this a very long program, but a couple more questions I have about this. I mean, Trump just had a meeting. Was it yesterday with King Abdullah of Jordan,
Yep.
and then I don't know if he met with Sisi.
Not yet, but the meeting is on the books, yes.
Sisi is the leader of Egypt. For those of you who might not know that, and so with the king of Jordan, he's told them, take some of those Palestinians really back to Jordan if you really want to, although that generation probably was not born there, but if you really want to look at history properly, it would be that most of them came from Transjordan originally. But he's asked that, and I think King Abdullah has agreed to take a few, but I mean, it's like I think Trump is talking about 2 million, and
So,
and so what do you have on that?
well, Trump is talking about moving the whole Gaza population out of Gaza, rebuilding Gaza, and putting golf courses on the Mediterranean. I mean, we
And,
call it.
he's really serious about that.
Oh, yeah, he totally is serious. Mar-a-Lago on the Med. I mean, how do you say? Gaza strip clubs all up and down the coast, and basically turning Gaza into another, how do you say, Caribbean island, if you
But
want to put it that way.
that's amazing. But by the way, Gaza Strip Club doesn't sound good. Not not as good as clubs on the Gaza Strip. A strip club. You know what a strip club is.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I know you didn't mean that, but when you said it, I said, yeah, that's probably not what he meant. But anyway, so it is a because I thought he was kind of when he said we can we can own the place, we can change it, and so we've got 2 million. What do you want to call them? Displaced people? I mean,
Yes, definitely. But it's much more than that, because refugees move from war zones all the time.
hmm
Uh, 5 million refugees moved out of Syria into Europe. 3.5 million refugees moved out of Syria into Turkey. 1.5 million refugees moved out of Syria into Jordan. Jordan has 1.5 million Syrian refugees. So moving people from combat zones, from war zones into safe zones is something very, very normal.
right.
The problem is here when he does that. I mean, if they agree to do that, you pull the rug out from underneath the whole Palestinian narrative. This is our land. We will die on our land. We will stand on the rubble of our land. If he manages to move them out, he actually has not only solved the Gaza problem, but he has completely changed the whole Palestinian narrative that says we deserve this country. Now, a lot of people don't know the Palestinians don't want a two-state solution. They want a one-state solution, and that state is a Palestinian Arab state and not the Jewish state.
No Jews in.
No, they want to ethnically cleanse the Jews, and they say it very clear, and they're very clear about this. But if he moves them out, he basically takes that option off the table. Now, that option is more than just a political. It is the, how do you say, the focal point of the whole Palestinian slash Arab slash Muslim point of view.
It's at the core of the Middle East crisis.
Exactly.
It is, and so now could Israel take some to be Palestinians living in Israel proper like they have right now?
Well, probably not. But I want to stress this because we are a biblical show right here.
Uh-huh.
What he is saying basically is that Israel belongs to the Jews. Basic.
I think he's in line with what the Bible is teaching.
Exactly. And for most of the people listening to us, they should be applauding this and praying on their knees that this happens. because it disassociates the Palestinians and leaves the issue of from the river to the sea to the biblical narrative.
Well,
And
if something like this would happen, then it would basically uh, it would take all credibility away from the Palestinians, and it would completely destroy a narrative that has been going on for 60 plus years since Arafat came onto the scene in what, 62, 63.
I would say even 75 years, because we keep on talking about the Nakba. I don't know if you've heard the term, the
The
disaster,
catastrophe, yeah.
the catastrophe. The term, by the way, they're talking about Trump doing this as a second Nakba. They're using the term Nakba.
Of course.
Just so you get the idea. But the term Nakba was not coined in 1967. It was
48.
coined in 1948, actually, immediately after 1948. And from the Arab point of view, it is not the disaster of the refugees that were kicked out. It was the disaster of us losing to those Jewish nothings, losing the war to these tiny little Jews. We, the great Arab, the great Muslim, the great wonderful people, lost to these tiny little Jews. That is more a blemish on their honor, on their religious and their national honor, than it is actually the displacement of the refugees.
And the word Nakba, so 1948, it's interesting because when you look at the in my studies, when you look at the shifting and the switching of the victims and the perpetrators, and you've got the Palestinian, the created Palestinians in 48, or not so in 48, but soon after that, the Arabs back then saying this is the Nakba, which means catastrophe. The word Holocaust in English comes from the word Shoah, and what does Shoah mean in Hebrew?
Catastrophe.
Catastrophe. So you're starting to see the beginning of a using of the same methodology, the same principle, the same wording that was used during the Holocaust, and to pull at the strings of the heart of people in the world, going like, see what was done against the Jews, they're doing against us. And so even in using some of those words, it's interesting to me.
Well, and another thing that I find fascinating, and this would be, I think, interesting from you know about this much more than I do, is how the anti-Semitism that we see in the Western world has not, how do you say, has only changed its flavor, has not changed its texture. Meaning, in the past, they hated us for racial reasons. They sent us to the gas chamber for racial reasons. Before that, it was for economic reasons, and before that, it was for religious reasons. And now it's anti-Semitism for, I'm going to say, political or national reasons.
National reasons, yeah, yeah.
And it just doesn't change. I mean, the dynamic is the same. You are to blame for all the problems in the world. I mean, how many times have you heard that in Europe? You are to blame for the Black Plague, for the economic situations. The world uses the Jews to lay the blame for all of the problems in the world. By the way, the Western world has a serious problem with the Muslim world. We're on the way to a conflict with the Muslim world. And in order to deal with that, they are blaming the Jews. So the biggest threat to the Western world right now, to the Judeo-Christian ideal, to Western civilization, is the Muslims. Just like the Black Plague wiped out, 1/3 of the population in Europe. But who's to blame? The Jews.
Jews, of course. And that goes along with the irrational aspect, because we've said it. We need to say it again, because I don't think we can say it enough, that anti-Semitism is a creation of Satan. It's satanic. It's demonic, and it's irrational. And I mean, only the Jews have been blamed and killed for being both communists and capitalists.
And it's not by chance that the symbol that Kanye West, the whole thing with that, did you hear the whole thing with the Super
T-shirt?
Bowl
Yeah,
and the T-shirt?
yeah.
What is it if not a broken cross? That's what a swastika is. And the whole Christian world should be up in arms that becomes his symbol. The broken cross of Jesus is the symbol. And I don't hear this, that I don't hear Western people, I don't hear Western civilization understanding that this is a threat to everything that they hold dear. And the Jews are basically being used again as a scapegoat in this one.
And I think the what saddens me is the fact that both Christians in general, the West in general and Christians in particular, they're missing the point that the first time I heard it was I think it was like in probably about 20 years ago. A journalist in the Boston Globe wrote an article. His name is Jeff Jacoby, and he wrote an article about the canaries, the canaries in a gold mine, and and he explained. He said the Jews, and that was 20 some years ago. Okay, 20 some years ago. He said the Jews are the canaries in the gold mine of civilization. In other words, back in the days, you would take a canary in a little cage down in the mine to do the coal mining, and if there was a gas leak, the canary would die, and that would be a little animal would die very quickly. That would be a sign like, hey, listen, if this
Get
little
out of
bird
here.
died, you're next. Get out. And so, and of course, somebody's calling me right now. It would be fair that they would have to be Tom Hughes because I always call him I always call him when he's online. So Tom, maybe this is you. I don't know. But the so the canary the Jews, radical Islam is not going to stop at the Jews.
No, definitely not. Two things about the canary in a coal mine or the gold mine. I like to use that also when you explain. Yes, we understand that we need the canary. It plays a role, but who thinks about the canary? Who wants to be the canary? What do you do when the canary dies? Do you are you sad? You don't care about the canary. What you care, maybe if you're smart, about what it means, but nobody really cares about the canary. And does the canary have a mother? Does the canary have a brother?
I never thought of it from that perspective.
And
Yeah,
and that's the way the world is seeing it. Okay, so you're over there, you're standing between us and Islam, those who understand, or Islam is using you as I mean, again, Osama bin Laden attacked the Twin Towers on 9/11, and who did he blame? He blamed the Jews. He blamed the Jewish influence in the Middle East. We've been used as the excuse for evil down through the ages. This is just another case.
yeah, it's not going to stop. So now we'll see what's going to happen. I mean, obviously, the big difference. I mean, I like what you said that there might not be a big difference between Israel getting back into Gaza now. As it was maybe a year ago, except that now we are under a different U.S. administration that is very pro-Israel, that understands the biblical ramifications of blessing Israel. I'll bless those who bless you, I'll curse him who curses you, Genesis 12:3. That, I don't know how much President Trump understands of end times and biblical and Bible prophecy, but you and I do, and the vast majority of our audience, they're very, they understand, they're educated, and they get it. We know we are in the end times. We know that this is, David. It shouldn't surprise you. It shouldn't surprise me. It saddens us. It concerns us. It's disgusting. It's upsetting. But it shouldn't be like, oh my gosh, I did not expect that. Yeah, we do expect that. The whole world is going to turn against Israel. We expect that. So
Well,
maybe, go ahead.
okay, there has to be peace in the Middle East at some point.
Yeah.
There has to be peace all over. And it's not a large jump of imagination to say this. He does pull it off. Hamas does capitulate. As a result of that, Saudi Arabia, Israel, the Emirates, and other Gulf states reach an agreement. Turkey gets pushed back because they realize that the power of the United States, together with Israel and Saudi Arabia, puts that as the main axis in the Middle East, nobody can stand up to that. Iran backs down and decides, okay, we don't want to mess with that. We'll reach an agreement for our nuclear program. And as a result of that, a whole line of economic influence goes from the Far East through India, through Omar, through Saudi Arabia. And I think that what Trump is dreaming of is making Gaza the jump off point from the Middle East to the rest of the European theater. And lo and behold, peace in the Middle East. And that is almost a biblical picture.
Okay, so I'm going to finish with this, and I'm going to regret asking the question or making the statement. Do you think that, I mean, there are some people in Christian circles, and I don't belong to that group, so I don't adhere to that view. I just want to make that clear from the right off the bat. There are some people who say that Trump is the Antichrist. I don't believe he is.
No.
But do you think it is possible, biblically speaking, that Trump could be used by the enemy, by Satan, against his will or unbeknownst to him, to set the stage so that when the rapture takes place, it really is a lot closer and a lot easier for the Antichrist to come in and say, hey, I'll finish the job and keep the peace in the world? Because right now, if Trump was to accomplish what you're saying at that speed so quickly, really, and that nobody even thought of, nobody would ever say in a million years, we're going to move the Palestinians out of Gaza and rebuild Gaza to be a resort beachfront. And then when you stop and you think, you go, wait a minute, that's completely destroying the Palestinian false narrative of the last 70 plus years. Nobody's ever thought of that. And here it is, we're on the cusp of that maybe happening. Is it possible that the enemy would use somebody like Trump to set the stage, not to be the Antichrist, but to bring in the Antichrist? To me, it's not impossible.
So me and you have a lot of friends who deal with prophecy much more than I do. And I don't know how to decipher and line up all the different aspects. I do know this. This potentially is a major shift in everything that's been happening in the Middle East. By the way, not only for the last 70 years, I'm going to say all the way back to the Ottoman and Muslim period. I mean, this is putting the whole Muslim world, this is the final, I'm going to say, the final nail into Muslim expansionism and Muslim grandeur that started off with how do you say, the conquering of Jerusalem in 691 AD. And you know, Muslim has been down, been stead on, and again, they're fighting back. But this would put the whole Muslim world on its back foot in many, many different ways. That would be the rise of Western civilization back again. And that would be the situation that will bring the Middle East into the point where it connects Europe and the Far East. And that, again, we haven't even talked about China and how that connects, but you know, all of this is interconnecting. And yes, Satan has used different tools, just like God has used different tools. And I'm not sure. I don't know if Trump is or is not, but I can see
No,
something
I
like
don't
that.
think. I don't think he's. Again, I do not think he is the Antichrist. I don't think. I don't think he fits the biblical. He doesn't check the boxes, biblically speaking, to be the Antichrist. So just want to put that one to rest. But somebody can be used by the enemy to set the stage so that the next step is closer and easier to accomplish. I don't see that not being that. That's not, you know. Just the same principle. I believe in a pre-trib, pre-mill rapture, but the Bible doesn't say anywhere that we, the believers, are not going to suffer before the rapture. So, you know what, you want to escape so that the tribulation is for those who are left behind, and then you're a Christian, so nothing's going to happen. No, the Bible doesn't say anywhere that we're not going to suffer. And so we could go through a lot of turmoil before the rapture and before the tribulation, which will be a lot worse. So just the same way, maybe maybe what's happening right now, which it wouldn't surprise us because we are really. I mean, the final chapter is being written right now as we speak.
So here's the thing. I mean, if you'd asked me a week ago, no way this is going to happen. Standing here 3 days before, a couple of days before, the Saturday at high noon, be out of town by high noon. I mean, yes, we do have a new sheriff in town, but I don't know how it happens. But if it does happen, that connects the dots to everything that we talked about.
Right, right. So I guess I'm posting this basically before the event. I'm posting this on tomorrow, which will be a day before. So it will be posted before. So maybe we'll be right, maybe we'll be wrong. But friends, and David, I want to finish with that. You've been watching. Thank you for that. I hope you learned a couple of things. I hope this was helpful. This was even encouraging. We don't know what's going to happen on Saturday, but we know what do we know is that Israel will never be destroyed. That Jeremiah 31 through 35. I mean 35 through 37. Sorry. We know that the Messiah of Israel is Yeshua, Jesus of Nazareth. We know that he died for Israel and for the whole world. So you don't have to be Jewish. I know it sounds weird because most Jews go like, I don't want Jesus. But, he's for all. Jews like David and I, and Gentiles like many other people. He died for you, he died for me, and he's coming back. And friend, if you do not have a personal relationship with Yeshua, with Jesus, don't wait. Especially in light of all the events that are unraveling on a daily, if not hourly basis right now. Why wait? Okay. You don't have to wait. You don't have to end up being left behind. Take the easier road. I'll be honest with you. Yeah, this is the easier road. I want to put my trust in Yeshua today. So I'm a child of God today. He forgives me for my sins today. And I don't have to think about it anymore. And then I'm a new creature. That's what I did 41 years ago. That's what David did many years ago as well. And that's what you need to do today if you haven't done it. So thanks for watching. Thank you for listening. Make sure you connect. Make sure you subscribe. David, how do people find you?
Okay, the Balagan Connection. See right there. There you go.
The Balagan
Okay.
Connection.
Balagan, the Balagan Connection YouTube channel. I put stuff on the YouTube. I put stuff on Instagram, and I'll be updating this as we go.
Are you going to be doing live? Are you going to be doing updates from Israel when you're there?
Yes, definitely.
Good.
Definitely.
Okay.
But I want to add one thing. My people need Yeshua. You know that. Our people need Yeshua. My people in Israel need Yeshua. When they're going through what they're going through, and we've kind of explained it, when Christians, people who have Yeshua, reach out and touch our people in the name of Yeshua, that opens a door for our people like nothing ever has before. So if you have Jewish friends, if you have Israeli friends, if you are connected, please reach out and bring Yeshua to our people. We
Amen.
need him.
And I'm going to add even one more thing to that. And because we always want to remember that as pro-Israel, as pro-Zionist as we are, as anti-Semitism as we are, we also understand, David and I, as Jews who follow Yeshua, that the Arabs need Yeshua as well. Because the
Exactly.
Muslims are the first victims of Islam.
I would say that the Muslim world is the furthest from Yeshua as any other world right now, but
Yeah.
that's a whole different conversation.
Yeah, that's for another time. Maybe that's for another show that we do with the three Jews, because there's one coming hopefully next week with David, Olivier, and Rob. And it'll be on David's channel, that one. But anyway, friends, thanks for watching. Until next time, shalom and be blessed.